I'm Delta Work, and this is Very Delta. Today I am joined by drag legend Sherry Vine, and we talk about glory holes, manholes, and the Golden Girls. But first, do you want to see me go off? Because I think you want to see me go off.
Oh.
Mom!
Are you a lady like me? Introspective, beautiful. Oh, are you intellectual like me? Beguiled by a bargain? You like wild times? Oh, like me? Are you serving the community like me? Well, if you are, then you must be very Delta. I'm Delta Work, and this is Very Delta, a luxury public access podcast and YouTube talk show where I look gorgeous, speak extemporaneously, and invite fascinating people to sit on the couch and get very Delta. Very Delta is for the woman who completely understands a 6-piece nugget, but holds no space for a 4-piece. But first, let's get into some things that are very Delta.
Go off, Delta!
I know I'm getting old, and I don't think I'm a party pooper, but I really need some of the music in restaurants and in my neighborhood and in cars and on television to just come down just a little tiny bit. My neighbors love to have parties, and my neighbors right next door are super cool about it. They always come over and they're like, hey, we're having a party. There's going to be a lot of noise. It's going to run late. But here's the thing. If you're hungry, come on over through the side gate. Come get yourself a plate at any point. If you're thirsty, come get a beer. So they're super cool about it. And I love hearing their party. I love knowing that they're having a good time. We offer up parking in our driveway. It's all good. I love it. And it runs late. So they warned me there's going to be mariachis. There's going to be a band. There's going to be a lot of crying going on, whether it's a wedding reception, whatever it is, I know it's going to be loud. So I'm prepared for it. We have some other neighbors across the way. They recently had a kickback. They were playing like La Chona. They had a little bit of Vicente Fernandez. They also had Ariana Grande playing. A little bit of everything. Didn't run as late, but something about their music was just booming so hard. And what's weird is it was across the street, right? The other party that happens pretty frequently was right next door. And it was something about the music across the way that was just, it felt like it was in my body. I felt like, say that shit with your chest. Like I felt like I was moving the whole time. And it just seemed like so much sound. And I thought to myself, I don't want to ruin anyone's party. Like I get it. They're having a good time. It was Mother's Day weekend. I don't know if it was a Mother's Day celebration or a birthday. I feel like it was a birthday because I saw like balloons that looked like number balloons, but I can't tell if that's what they were, if they were a design or a word. But something said to me like, I guess they didn't owe me an explanation, right? You can't just walk around and tell everybody you're having a party. But part of me thought, what if I just turned on the Golden Girls as loud as their music and I matched their energy? I bet they would be bothered by that. I bet they would be like, hey, why is your TV so loud? We're having a party over here. And I just feel like, doesn't it kind of at some point just get so loud that like, how are you even having a conversation? Like I didn't see anyone dancing. So it wasn't like, wow, everyone's up and it's a rave and they're having a good time. Or like, you know, it wasn't like pumping music, slick DJs, fog machines, and laser rays. Like that was not the feeling. The feeling was that like a bunch of people were sitting at rented tables and chairs from PDQ and they were just kind of like talking and eating. But the thing is, when you're in a situation like that, why don't you just lower the music? The music should be ambiance. If no one's dancing, if no one's like running around doing anything, if everyone's talking, what is the point of the music that everyone's going to have to yell over? Hey, I love your dress. Who wants to do that? Hey, you like those enchiladas? Like, I don't know why. And I think about not just that party, but other places where people are asking about enchiladas. I love Chili's. Don't get me wrong. Chili's has always been good to me. But I sometimes am confused as to why, when you walk in, the music is so loud that even the person who is seating everyone, the seating host slash hostess, seating greeter, I don't know, I don't want to gender or misgender anyone in that job. The person who is at the host stand has to say to me the other day, "I'm sorry, what?" And I said, "Can we get a table for 3? "I'm sorry, what?" "Can we get a table for 3? "Sure, a booth for 3. If they can't understand and they work there, how are we supposed to understand? And I think maybe there's like a philosophy that I don't understand about restaurant theory. Like maybe the idea is, and this is what I thought, because I saw other people eating and screaming at the top of their lungs. By the way, after they like sat us down, I was like, we gotta go. Like, I can't stay here and order. I can't scream lunch conversation. Like, I just can't do that. And if everybody else here is doing that, then I have to understand that that's just the way of this restaurant. That's the way of this location. Obviously, everybody else here doesn't have a problem with it. I have a problem with it. So I'm the common denominator in this problem. I'm the only one bitching. I have a right to just get up and leave. Just if you don't enjoy it, don't be there. But I think maybe because I was going like just after lunch, maybe the reason this happens is because the restaurant figures the more uncomfortable people are, the more likely they are to eat their food really fast and get out. And I really wonder if that has something to do with it. Maybe I could just Google this and ask, or maybe somebody will send a letter in and say, I work for Chili's and that's what it is. I don't know. But I feel like if you are, say, on your lunch break and you have an hour and you walk in, I think you're less likely to complain about something like this because you figure, well, I've only got an hour. I can't drive to another restaurant because I'll be losing time. Let me just go in here, order something quick, eat it, and get the hell out of here. And if you're there and you feel like you're experiencing other sort of uncomfortable things that you don't really know are uncomfortable, you just figure like, that's weird. You know what? I got to get out of here. This music's really loud. Let me just finish up this hamburger and go. Then the tables are clear and more people can be processed through the restaurant. Maybe that's a thing. Maybe it's not a thing. I just feel like that noise. I'm like, if the people working here are having to yell, if the person who seated me and my group had no idea what I was saying, I think that's too much noise. I mean, I really just think that might be too much noise and the restaurant should just dial it back a little bit. You should be able to have conversation. I don't think it should be that loud anywhere. Again, you go to a nightclub and you're dancing. I've always said, I hate when I'm at the club, the music is blaring and people come up and they're like, hey, I just wanted to tell you. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Oh, I'm so sorry, baby. I can't hear you, baby. I'm so sorry. Like, I'm not trying to be fucking rude. I'm just like, people are dancing, drinks are flowing, go-go dancers are happening, and you're trying to have a one-on-one with me. I would rather do that outside on a patio. I would rather do that sort of away from the dance floor just because, you know, I want to be as present as possible. I'd like to hear what you're saying. I'd like to give you my answer, but I cannot hear. I can't hear. And I don't think I have a hearing problem. I just think there are people that are like, I don't know. Maybe I do have a hearing problem. I don't know what it is. I cannot hear. If I'm yelling, I don't want to have that conversation. I will just stop talking. And people are like, hey, I'm talking to you. And I'm like, you know what? I can't hear you. And I'm not trying to be fucked up. I'm just saying, if that's a problem, then don't fucking talk to me. I know that's awful, but come on. I don't want to go. And I did. I left the restaurant because I thought it's not their responsibility. And the neighbors, you know, I was thinking, what if I just started blasting like Nails, Hair, Hips, Beep, Bop, Boop by Todrick Hall? What if I just started playing Shade Shady by RuPaul? What if I just started blaring Here I Go Again on my own? I think that might be a problem for them. I think they might be like, hey, we're having a party, not you. But if I'm matching your energy, like, what if I just started doing that when they weren't having a party? What if I just started doing that just in general? I was like, you know what? It's a Saturday afternoon. I'm going to hook up the big speakers outside and we're just going to blare it. I'm going to sit out here and pick my toenails. I bet you somebody would have a problem with it. I really think so. And I think the appropriate time to start turning the music down is when you've stopped offering me a plate of food and a beer. Because I don't have a problem with the neighbors doing it that offered me a plate or an explanation or a beer or a soda or something. I think those other people, if you have people dancing and they're dancing all night long, fucking go for it. But if there's like nobody at your party and like there's like 5 people sitting at a picnic table and you have a tent up and lights and balloons and like everyone's just kind of tapped out, I think that's when you lower it. Honestly, I think it's a case by case situation. Maybe it's just because I like my next door neighbors a lot more and I don't know those other people. I think that has a lot to do with it. I mean, you know, it's preferential. I'm being preferential. I'm being privileged, I guess. But I don't know. I feel like maybe even with the next door neighbors, maybe it should come down at a certain point. Maybe I'm just more tolerant because they were fucking nice about it. But I don't know. I think those other people across the way kind of look at me crazy sometimes too. So, you know, I think too, like people will see like me carrying a doll head, which I try to do quick. I don't want people knowing what I do in my area. I don't like all that. You know what I mean? Like I'm not embarrassed of it. I just don't want any ramifications from people who have no concept of what's happening. They don't need to know what's happening. I like my blinds closed. All of that. All of that. I don't need any of that out there. If I'm hosting a party at my location, and I have, I like my party to start a little bit earlier. So like 6 o'clock, close friends show up a little bit earlier, people that are helping with food or something like that. Our music never goes any louder than you can hear to like the front of the driveway. It's never going to be that loud because we're having conversation. We're having a good time. For me, the music is about ambiance. I don't really have people like, you know, twerking and freaking in the backyard. It's just, I mean, maybe somebody's having a good time, but we don't put down a dance floor at all. My group of people like to sit down and have appetizers, and you know, some people go over here to this corner and smoke their cigarettes, and some people go over here to this corner and smoke their weed, and in the middle everyone meets at the swimming pool. So, you know, that's going to happen for us. I don't like that music getting any louder, and so honestly, by 10 o'clock, the music is pretty much off, if not at just like a tiny lull, because I think everyone needs to be fucking out of there by, I don't know, 11 o'clock. I mean, even on a weekend. Bitch, go home and go to bed. Do you want to see me take a break? Because I think you want to see me take a break. Today's guest is a parody queen, a cougar, a showgirl, a former showgirl, and most importantly, a legend in my eyes and the eyes of everyone. It's the one and only Sherry Vine.
Hi.
Hi, thank you for being here.
Oh my God, thank you for having me. I've been wanting to do this forever.
You know, I'm grateful that you're here. I have always known you throughout my drag career. I've always seen pictures of you. And when I say not just a legend in everyone's eyes, but in my drag career, always knowing you as legendary because you've always seemed like this person who's always accomplished, always just on top of your game and what it is that you do, what it is that you present. Are you originally from New York, and is that a New York thing?
No, I grew up in Baltimore.
Okay.
And then I came to LA the first time to go to graduate school. So I actually have a master's degree in that. And then I moved to New York City in 1992 to have a theater company and all of that. And I was there for almost 30 years, and now I'm back here. But I have a theater background, and I really wanted to incorporate as much of that as possible into this character, Sherry Vine.
Mm-hmm.
So when I started Sherry Vine, I was very strictly like for the theater. We had a theater company, we were doing plays and shows, and that's what I was going to do. And I really only started performing in bars in New York because I was like, well, that's got to be better than waiting tables.
Right.
And then it kind of got sidetracked's not the right word because I had a gorgeous time and I don't regret anything, but I kind of ended up on this other path. And then I kind of had to push it back to doing what I'm doing now, which is more like TV and film and the Golden Girls and stuff that we do on stage, and not actively pursuing like a bar show, which is nothing wrong with that. I've been doing this for 34 years.
Right. And that's the beauty of it is finding your niche and what it is that you do. We were talking off camera just about so many things that have transpired. Certainly the pandemic screwed everybody.
Yes.
But prior to that, every season of Drag Race, there was like a momentum happening, right? And so we would see so many people from the show get constantly booked in bars because that was the thing people thought everyone wanted to see. And then a lot of people that had solo shows or ensemble shows like Golden Girls or individual things, it's like you think, are we going to be booked again? And I feel like that wave, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was a real thing. I remember I was visiting LA. I was staying with Jackie. I had not moved here yet. And we went to lunch, and I think it was me, Jackie, Varla, and I can't remember if Coco was there or not, but we had a conversation where we were like, are we done?
Right.
Because this was maybe, I don't know exactly, but maybe season 3, season 4, where it was Sharon Needles and like Drag Race had exploded. No one wanted to book us. They were only booking queens from Drag Race. And that is what inspired Jackie and I to be like, you know what? Maybe that chapter of bar shows is done for us. Let's go back to what we do that not necessarily anyone can do, which is theater. We're like, let's do the Golden Girls live on stage. And that's been almost 10 years ago when we started that. So that really kind of motivated us to switch lanes, which has been the best ever. And I threatened to move here again for years. And finally, I was just like, I need to shake my life up. I don't want to work. I don't want to perform at 1 o'clock in the morning in front of a pool table anymore, because I did that forever. And I felt like I wouldn't be able to leave that if I stayed in New York City. So I moved here and was like, I'm not doing that anymore. I'll do something, but I won't have like a regular weekly night. And like I said, there's nothing poo-pooing on that at all. It's just like I did that for 30 years. So I really wanted to change things up, and it was great. And also then I have the variety show on Out TV, and that opportunity presented itself, and I felt like I need to be in LA to really make it happen.
Yeah. Have you always been a fan of the Golden Girls?
Oh my God, yes. I mean, it's funny. I remember why I did watch the Golden Girls in real time. It's funny because people always be like, oh, did you watch Designing Women or this or that? Anything that was in the 90s. I was like, no, I wasn't watching TV in the 90s. Girl, I was out. You know what I mean? I was living in New York City and I was in my 20s and I wasn't watching TV. I didn't watch anything in the 90s. I was out every single night. But definitely the Golden Girls.
Yeah. You know, I it's funny you say that about not watching TV at that time. You know, when there's people that like go, oh, I don't like that because it's popular. So they think like it's being cool to not like something that's popular. I've never been that person, but I legitimately say to people, I'm not shitting on it. I'm just telling you, I've never been somebody who got into Sex and the City because I was working at the time. I was kind of developing more, like being out, trying to be seen in drag. So I never really watched it. Plus, I honestly don't think like I had HBO or whatever. I just didn't have the money for it either. You know, I could watch it now, but I know I would enjoy it. I know it's great. I know it's cool. I've seen like one of the movies. I loved it. But I just feel weird when people are like, what do you mean? Oh, you're too good. I'm like,
I never, ever have seen Dynasty. The only show that we kind of planned our schedule around in New York City was Roseanne. That was the one show where we're like, we have to be home on this night at this time. Before we go out, we have to watch Roseanne.
Right. What a different time too, right? Like when you think of comedy, I feel like we're oftentimes paying for mistakes, you know, or paying for things that we didn't realize. And now people are like, I can't believe you would stand for this or that or the other. And it's like, it was a different time. We were thinking differently at that time. And I hate that for all of us. I love us all being enlightened. I do.
Yes, of course.
I do. But I think it sucks when people say like, oh, okay, I recognize this or that. And people are like, no, you need to be more responsible for it.
I don't need someone to police me.
Right.
And I agree, like we're always evolving and that's great. At the same time, I don't feel like you can cancel someone from the 90s for what they said 30 years ago
Right.
because it's different. It was a different time. And there were certain things that you
We're
could
not
say
the
or
enemy.
do that.
We're
Right.
not
We're not the enemy. We're
I'm
not the enemy.
and you're not, and we're really not.
Not. I was doing a Christmas show. I was in Philadelphia, and this girl came up after and started like giving me grief about, I can't believe you didn't talk about this or that. And I'm not going to open that can of words, but this or that and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, honey, I'm a man in a dress singing about poop.
Right.
Okay. Where in that show would I have, and don't talk to me about it's not a platform. It's not. It's my drag account where
Right.
I promote shows.
Right.
And it's not, I'm not an elected official. I'm not a politician. And it's not a platform.
And I'm not the enemy.
And I'm not the enemy.
And part of the hard thing of what we do is trying to provide people sort of this space to decompress and to just kind of listen and go, that's wacky, that's silly, that's something. We have so much going on.
Girl, I say that every show. I'm like, about halfway through the show, I'm like, okay, I know how stupid this show is. I know, I'm very aware of how dumb and silly, moronic and childish this show is. But I feel like my job is for 1 hour to make people forget about everything that's going on and make people laugh for an hour.
Yeah.
And that is medicine. And I feel that that is political. That doesn't mean we're not aware of what's going on in the world. I am very aware. I'm very caught up on the news and everything that's going on in the world. And I have an opinion as Keith. And that's not my act.
Right. No, I get that. And I mean, you like, no secret, smoke and mirrors, you're celebrating 60 years. And more than half of that entertaining people.
Yeah.
Do you have like a favorite decade? When, back in the day, we would always do like theme shows. It's a 70s show. It's an 80s show, whatever. Now when I look back and I see people going like, oh, we're doing a 2000s show. And I'm like, wasn't that just last
Wasn't
week?
that yesterday? Right.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
It's weird to look back at some of that.
I kind of classify everything into what I call chapters. I'm like, okay, we had the theater company through the 90s, which was very successful and all consuming in terms of time. And we never made a penny. I mean, literally did not make a penny. It was off Broadway, but it played an important role, I think, in the timeline of like drag and queer theater in New York City. I mean, we had people like Justin Vivian Bond and Formica and Candace Kane and Basil Twist, who's this genius puppeteer, and Mark Happel costumes and David Dalrymple and Kevin Adams, who's now won like 6 Tonys doing the lights. So it was this just amazing time. And so that's the chapter. And then YouTube came along, and I have kind of like what I call my YouTube chapter, where all of my energy and resources were going into making these videos.
Right.
Now I've got my LA chapter. So that's how I kind of timeline things.
Through that way.
Yeah, because it's been 34 years. I mean, I've been performing for my whole life.
Right.
But as Sherry, it's for 34 years.
That's a long time.
Girl. Yes, it is. But the thing that's so beautiful is when people are like, oh, you're tired of things. I'm like, I sincerely love performing in drag as much today as I did 34 years ago. Like,
oh, I love that.
It's so fun. And it's just literally pure joy and makes me so happy. And I've got a book of things I still want to do in drag.
Now, what about parodies? Like, how do you come up with parodies?
Girl.
Do you keep like a notes app in your phone and you're like, this is
yes.
Oh
my God,
right?
yes. Anything that pops into my head, and people will send me ideas, and I'm like, don't write it. Just give me the idea, which I love that. And then I will write it. I don't know. I have started writing parodies in high school way before Sherry Vine. And this is a true story. It was my senior year, and up until then, in all the theater productions, I always got these little small parts. So I thought, okay, senior year is going to be my payback. This is what I've been waiting for. We were doing The Wizard of Oz, And I was like, I'm going to be the Scarecrow, and he's got to give it to me. And he didn't. And I was just like, I'm not doing this show. I dropped out. I went and got work release from school. I was like, fuck y'all.
Wow.
And I had this plan. I was going to rewrite every song in that show to make it as filthy as possible. And then I was going to print it and sneak it into all the programs. So that was my big plan, which I didn't do, but I did rewrite every song. So senior in high school is when I first started writing parodies. And then I performed here in the late 80s with Robbie Daniels. We had a little group together called Skinny Boys, and it wasn't even in drag, and we did tons of parodies. So way before Sherry Viner was writing parodies. So it was just kind of like a natural
Do you
evolution.
do any of those parodies still? Like, would you ever incorporate that into stuff?
I haven't. My oldest one is Corn, which is a parody of Torn. But I had just started
Natalie
performing a show.
Imbruglia?
Yeah.
Do you remember some of the words? Will you give us some of the words?
I was walking home late one night. I can't sing it right now. All of a sudden, something I ate I wasn't feeling right. I thought that I would pass gas, and goes on, when did I eat corn? It's just so stupid.
That's what's magical. And that's what we talk about. Like, so much going on in the world. Why not go take in a show where you're like, you know what? I just want to forget about it. I want to talk about something. I want to hear about something ridiculous.
Yeah.
Silly.
Look, I applaud any queen who is an activist.
Sure.
I mean, I applaud them. And I can be an activist also. It's not part of my act. It's just not what I do. And people kind of really will come for me, especially lately. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry if you don't see how making people laugh in spite of everything going on, a form of activism.
I feel like every day we are writing our book, every day, and in every way as that goes, some characters just don't make it to the next chapter. There's plot twists, there's all of that. And if that's the case, and if we're writing a book or a movie or whatever it may be, you can't just herald the people who are the directors of that. Because when you watch a movie, you say, oh gosh, the wardrobe was great. Oh gosh, the cinematography was great. Yeah. So if that's the case, why is it not part of activism to say, I'm doing this part?
Yeah.
I'm providing the food. I'm providing the hair.
Yeah.
I'm providing the laughs.
Yeah.
I'm providing the song.
Yeah.
I think it's important.
And like I said, it really doesn't mean that I'm not aware of what's going on.
Painfully aware.
Painfully aware. And I have, of course, opinions and emotions and stuff. It's just not part of my act. And I would have to say that even in the 90s, someone came up to me one night. I think I was performing somewhere in Texas, and some guy came up to me at the show crying. And I'm like, oh, he's like, I just lost my house. The electricity's turned off. My boyfriend left me. And I've been like so depressed. And you just made me forget all about that for an hour. And I'm like, that's my job.
I love that. Let's take a break. The Orange Diamond Thought of the Week. Even if you stand up to pee, always put the toilet seat down when you're done. It just looks better.
Hey, Sherry, what's a Wizard of Oz parody? Do you remember a lyric from...
Well, let's see. The Scarecrow was, I could while away the hours, pissing on the flowers, coming in the rain, or something like that.
God.
If I only had a cock. And the Tin Man was gay, and the lion couldn't get it up.
Jesus
so they were all
Christ.
going to Oz to get a dick, a man, and a boner.
We are back with Sherry Vine. We are just shooting the shit about a little bit of all of it. We could get political all day long, but instead of that, why not talk about sucking dick? I mean, that's just...
Oh my God, that is literally the politics of my life.
Right.
No.
The politics of dancing and the politics of
dancing.
sucking dick. You were telling me off camera, you started to tell me a funny story, and then you were like, maybe we'll save it for later. A funny trade story and putting makeup on.
Oh, about hooking up?
Yeah.
In drag. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, back in the 90s in New York, when you would perform in the bars, like let's say I'd be at Barracuda doing a show or something, there you could always be one guy in the corner in the pitch dark.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, honey, I know why he's here. He is not here for this show. Because this was before the internet or the phones.
Sure.
So you had to go out to, if you wanted to get laid or have a good time, you actually had to leave the house. I had a lot of good times in New York and the 90s. Then when the internet and the phone came, it kind of changed. So now it's just so easy. You can just order in.
That's what. Cruising is not a thing. Like it's just
Cruising's
not.
no. You're scrolling. You're not cruising
Yeah, you
anymore.
just go in and you type what you want, and just as you said, you order it and you wait for a beep to happen.
Right. Now, a lot of times these guys will text me and be like, hey, that I've met before, like, hey, baby, I'm in your neighborhood. And I'm like, I'm not in drag. And then I kind of have to weigh like, this guy was worth doing a 20-minute face. I could do a 20-minute drag face, hookup face, turn all the lights off, one little votive candle. I'm over here. Follow my voice. Or if it's like, okay, I'm going to like go full fantasy for this guy. Or during the pandemic, I wrote a parody of Gloria, Laura Branigan, called Glory Hole, because there was this legitimate news item that said a safer way for gay men to have sex is with a glory hole. And of course, I had to run with that. So I built this glory hole out of cardboard. Jackie Beat made this gorgeous sign that went on top that said Sherry's Suckatorium.
Suckatorium.
And we did the video, and then I put it in the closet like it was a prop.
Uh-huh.
And then one day I was like, I was so horny. And I was like, I don't feel like putting on drag. And I was like, this guy I was talking to, I was like, do you know what a glory hole is? And he's like, of course. I've never done it before. It's always been a fantasy. I'm like, oh, great. Well, come on over. And that glory hole is on its last leg.
Does it still exist?
Yes.
And is it just blown out and like
it's a mess.
Is it?
I have to hold it.
Is it like seeping all around it?
No, nothing like that. But I have to like hold one side against the wall to keep it up and try. It's.
Have you thought of doing a new one?
I probably should not be so lazy if I'm going to do it, because it's been fun. It's a win-win.
You know what you?
But you have to warn them always, like, no peeking. It's the Wizard of Oz. Don't look behind the curtain.
I can't believe you still have that glory hole. How long have you had that glory hole?
Well, since the pandemic lockdown.
It's not that long.
Not
if
too
you really
long,
think
but
about
she's.
It. Do you ever think of
she's
life?
Paid her dues.
I mean, we ask a lot out of cardboard.
I've asked a lot out of this
What
box.
could you be for me? It's like how much we ask out of cauliflower. Like,
oh my
could
God.
you be pizza?
Could you be rice?
Could you be a steak? Cauliflower has to be everything. Why?
I don't know. I kind of love it, though.
You do?
I'm so sad that Chipotle doesn't have cauliflower rice anymore.
Why did they get rid of that?
I don't know. Maybe it was too expensive. I have no idea, but I loved it.
Is Chipotle one of your favorite places?
Chipotle is my favorite. It was what I consider fast food. Like that's the low. I won't eat at McDonald's or anything.
You don't like it?
I love it. I would just have to be literally crawling on the floor about to die from starvation.
Your takeaway from this is that Sherry Vine hates fat people. And those of us who have the McDonald's app, and those of us who enjoy a $1.49 French fry, medium sized, Sherry Vine hates us. And
Jackie's always says annoyingly thin Sherry Vine. Look, it's only important to me because I have this character.
Because you're not buying new clothes.
I'm not buying new clothes. I have a character that's supposed to be a sex kitten. And until the day comes, some would say it's past, where I can't pull that off, then I'm going to, everything is super short and sheer. I can't wear hips. I can't cinch.
Listen, wear something breezy. And then you can belt it if you need to. No, I think that's, but everybody does know you for sexy. And then as you get to a certain point, I don't know, they say over 40, a cougar. Do you have a certain kind of gentleman that you like, or gentlemen that are attracted to you? What's the type?
On the app that I'm on, the majority of guys who message me are like 25. Mm-hmm. And I'm always like, oh, I feel so like whatever. I know it's legal, but I still feel like I'm so much older. But the character, is, I say I'm like 40 on the app, and no one's questioned it yet.
And do you have pictures like done just like this?
Oh, yeah.
And they live.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they?
Well, I
come
mean,
on.
If they're looking for this, if they have a niche, then,
Do people ever say like, "Hi, Alaska"? Does that
not on the
happen?
app, honey, but
No?
everywhere else, yeah. Which I love. I mean, I'm flattered. I'm, 20-something years older
Right.
than her, and I love her. We're great friends.
Right.
And we've talked about one day we're going to do a mother-daughter act.
Yeah. And whenever people are like, "Hi, Alaska," to me, I'm like, I don't see it, but they see it. You know what I mean?
Look, people just kind of want to associate with what they know. When Supermodel came out, and I was living in the East Village, and I would still have to walk from Avenue C, where I lived, which was a very different Avenue C than it is now, over to the Pyramid in drag. And every night I would just be like, okay, universe, please let me get there alive. Because I couldn't get a taxi over there. And I didn't have money to get like a car service. So I'd just be like, here we go.
Wow.
Well, before Supermodel, it was scary. I mean, I've been chased with bats, bottles thrown at me, all of that. Supermodel came out. I'd walk and people would be like, you better work.
Right.
RuPaul. Like, obviously I'm not RuPaul, but that's just kind of what they would know.
Right. She saved your life.
RuPaul saved my life. And the Puerto Rican drug dealer that I was blowing, who kind of would make sure I got there safely.
Do you still have time for Puerto Rican drug dealers?
I can make time.
Right.
Girl, there are things I did in the 90s that I would never dream of doing
Like
now.
what? Like what?
I used to get in trouble at Barracuda all the time because the manager would be pounding on the bathroom door. Sherry Vine, I know you're not in there alone. Get out of that bathroom. You can't do that here.
I love it.
I'm like, shut up.
Yeah.
Do you know when you're walking down the streets in New York City, those metal?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Girl, I would in full drag crawl down there to like blow people.
Wow. Did
Yeah.
you go down there with them or did you just go look for people down
No,
there?
with them, with
Okay.
someone. But I would never in a million. I'm like, no, I'm going to get chopped up.
Never say
I never even thought of that.
I
Oh, girl,
mean,
no,
come
never.
on. Like one more time. Just like one more time.
For old time's
For
sake.
old time. For your 60th birthday. Come on. A gift for yourself. Don't you think?
No, thank goodness we have these apps. I only host. I won't even go to anyone's house. I mean,
Oh,
that's how much I've changed.
they have to come
like,
to your
I
home.
literally would never, I never have gone to a stranger's house in drag since
Yeah.
the app.
What's the outfit when they come over?
Usually something really sheer and just slutty.
It wouldn't be this hairstyle because this you don't want to get anything in it. You know what I mean? Or do you?
Once I've worn this for a bit. All right, I have a wigs that start off as show wigs, are like, they're new and they're gorgeous.
Uh-huh.
And then they kind of work their way down the totem pole and they end up as the DSW,
Uh-huh.
dick sucking wig.
Okay. Not designer shoe warehouse.
No, ma'am. Dick sucking wig. So, like, I just did the tour with Bianca and she was like, that wig is ready to be DSW.
Oh, she knew. Like she could just tell.
Yes.
She's known you long enough.
Yeah. And I would sometimes, if I knew I was going to meet someone, like I'd go out to do my show,
Mm-hmm.
I would put the DSW wig in the bathroom. So I'd come home like this with this guy and be like, I'm just going to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back, baby.
Oh, smart.
And I'd go in the bathroom and switch wigs because I don't want to fuck up my show hair.
Smart.
Mhm. I actually sent one of my old DSW wigs to Ancestry.com and it came back and they're like, oh my God, you are from everywhere.
Right. I could see that. What about like just a cute little bang thing that's blonde and down to here? That way you don't have to worry about anything. You just
Those
plop
are the
it on.
easiest, kind of just shake and go. Those are the easiest.
And do you have to maybe hold it with your hand as you're like?
No, I'm always like, don't touch my hair.
Right.
They want to run their fingers through it. I'm like, you're going to get stuck. It's not going to be
Have you
good.
ever ran your own fingers through your wig, like thinking you're doing something sexy and it gets caught under
Oh,
the
and
nail?
the nails. I've
And you're
pulled,
trying to be cool.
I've gone home. I'm like, where did that nail go? And I'm like,
Right.
oh, it's in the back of my wig.
Completely dangling. Right.
We used to have, again, before the internet, we all had special names for our hooking up names. And mine was Tanya.
Oh.
And Jimmy James. You know Jimmy James?
Bev the slut.
Beverly, yes.
Yes.
Now Beverly always had this kind of little bang fringy wig that she would like do tricks.
Yes. Yes.
I love that you knew that it was Beverly.
I remember seeing Jimmy here in LA, and Jimmy had released a song called Who Wants to Be Your Lover? And I still to this day have the CD that Jimmy reached down and handed to me. And I treasure it. And I can remember at that time, like being so new to seeing drag. It was like such a whirlwind, you know, and everything was because there was no social media, everything was legend.
Oh.
So it was like, there's a singer called this and they're a drag queen.
Yeah.
And you're going to go see it.
And
it's like fascinating.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, Jimmy James, you couldn't touch that face or that voice.
Right.
And I've been friends with Jimmy for 30 years.
Wow.
And I used to see her perform in the 80s.
Wow.
And just be sit there like, there's no way that's her voice. And she's so gorgeous.
Right.
I just saw her a couple weeks ago in San Antonio. She came to the show and we hung out after and we were cackling. I mean, I've got stories. I love her.
Yeah, I bet. She has a wig, I bet, that also has DNA. You know what it is. We all know what it is.
We all know.
Let's take a break. We are back, and we are chit-chatting a little bit about everything. This is the part of the show called Read Me Delta. So this is where people will send in letters, ask for advice, share their situation.
Oh, so
whatever.
you're not asking me to read you.
Well, I mean, I'm always I'm always inviting that.
No,
I'm always
no.
inviting. I'm always looking to improve.
Wait, that's fancy.
Right? They send
Ooh,
their letters with proper stationery.
That is fancy. And look at you at the letter opener.
I love letter openers. I collect them and I've never used them
Love
until.
that about you.
Is that fun?
That is fun.
All right. Oh, they knew you were coming. Hello, Delta and Sherry. Do you gender your numbers? I don't know what this means. All of my friends think I'm weird because I assign a gender to my numbers 0 through 9 for the most part. I don't know why, but in my mind, the number 4 has such a divalicious energy and oozes femininity. The number 5 gives off strong macho vibes, and I'm afraid that he would beat me up if he got the chance to. 6 also gives off a sort of alt girl energy. She's my favorite. I've thought of this way since I was a young child, and I've never thought of that as an unusual way of thinking. How do you feel about pointlessly gendering inanimate objects? I don't know if it's very Delta to be forcing a binary on things that don't ask for it. Should I see a doctor? Thank you for your valued opinions. Very KB. I think you need to see a doctor.
For sure.
Without a doubt. And I'm glad you know that as an option. I absolutely do bizarre things in my life. I hold the space for you to do this if this is what's important to you. I know that I'm a person who will set the alarm on my car and I'll walk to the front door and I'll open it and I will hit the alarm. And then when I close the door, I'll think to myself, did I really hear the alarm? And I'll hit it again.
Yeah.
And I don't do that in everything in my life, just certain things. So that's kind of a repetition.
I do that with setting the alarm on the phone to wake up.
Uh-huh.
I will check it 20 times.
Yep.
Like, oh, did the volume? Oh, did I check the volume? And I'm not exaggerating. Like numerous times where clearly it's ready to go.
Right. And you're still doing it.
Yeah, it's so OCD. I have never gendered numbers. I never even thought about it. I kind of just refer to everything as a she, her. That's in like the car or the table or whatever. Like, oh, put it over to her.
Right.
But no, I've never thought about numbers.
And I think sometimes people will that do hear queer people that will refer to she or her to other people. And then they'll say, I've heard people go, oh, no, I'm talking about a guy. And I'm like, I know, so am I. She's a bitch. You know what I mean? I'm talking about her too.
We had my parents had come to New York to see a show at one of the theaters. And then we went to this restaurant and like Joey Arias, I think Jackie, Candace, like they're all close with my parents. They all were there. And my dad just leaned over like 10 minutes after being there. And he's like, now, everyone's a her, right? I just need to let go of that. I'm like, yes. He's like, okay, everyone's a her.
Yeah. It's simple. It is so simple for some people, right? Like,
Yes.
so when I think of our friend here, Very KB, and I know you're sort of being silly and fun about it, but the reality is if this is something that somebody did and it was their thing and you were like, okay, great, it's not hurting anything. I feel like, we were raised, I'm sure, with on television, the show Star Trek, right? And when you watched that, you saw all these people that looked vastly different. And somebody was breathing out of here, and somebody had four arms over here. But everybody was just like flying through the universe, just looking to be equal.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're still not there. I've been around so many people at shows, like older women, older men. They are generally never phased. They've never been to a drag show and they watch and they go, oh, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not phased. It's generally younger people policing. And I could say my own generation as well. So I'm not trying to say it's only millennials or it's only Gen Z or
Right.
whatever. It's a little bit of everybody, but generally people that are much older, they're not really phased by it. They don't really give a shit.
No.
They're like, just
My
do what
mom
you need to do.
lives in a retirement community. Like she has her own apartment, but it's in a retirement community in North Carolina. And we'll walk around and she'll introduce me. This is my son. He does drag. And I'm like, you don't have to tell people that, Mom. And she's like, why not? That's their problem.
My mom's the same way.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on over here in my drawer, but why is this in here?
Someone from 1993 left their camera.
Oh, how funny.
A really good friend of mine, Miss Guy. Do you know Miss Guy? She was a DJ and she was in a band called
In
the
New
Toilet
York?
Boys in New York.
I've
right.
heard the name,
Best
of
friends
course.
with Bunny. She always had that with her, a camera with her. And
Oh, how
now
funny.
she has the most amazing archival photo collection of 1990s nightlife in New York City.
Oh my God.
That I don't have anything because we didn't have the phones.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you ever meet from here in LA Viva Sex?
Oh, yes.
Right?
Oh,
Viva.
you see her at Peanuts.
Yeah. So Viva used to get our pictures like developed and when she would pass out pictures. I have pictures for you from last Friday. And what she would do is she would go in with a Sharpie. I tell people this. And she would like chop off your arm fat, fill in your black
No
hair,
way.
whatever. And she would go, look how good you look. And it wasn't until you would tilt your picture and go, oh,
She was
my God.
photoshopping.
She was photoshopping. And I still have pictures like that to this day. And I've shown them on here, but I try to tell people that because not everybody can remember some of the girls from back in the day.
Right.
So when I say Viva, I'm excited. Obviously, you know who she is, but some people don't remember, but she was do that.
Very early 90s, we would go to Peanuts. Candace and I worked at the French Market.
Oh, yeah.
And right next door was Peanuts. And we'd go to Peanuts. And if we'd go and drag, it'd be like me, Alexis Arquette, the Chanel twins, and Viva. We would get twisted.
I love it.
No,
I love
good
it.
times.
Yeah, I love that. Do you drink? Do you not drink?
I do. I don't get twisted anymore because I don't have time to recover. It's not fun.
If somebody said, "Oh, Sherry, I want to buy you a cocktail," what would be like?
Oh, Jack and Ginger.
Okay.
And
Has
I
it always been
love
that?
whiskey. I drank in the 90s. I drank vodka, Cosmopolitans, and Justin Vivian Bond when I introduced me to CC and Ginger, Canadian Club and Ginger Ale.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, and I made the switch. So for the past 25 years, I'm whiskey and ginger.
Which is interesting because I think a lot of like younger people that drink now, that's kind of a trend for them is the ginger beer and ginger ale. But you were doing it before all that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm just saying, I'm not trying to one up. I'm just
my
saying
roommate's really
she
good
was doing it before.
My roommate's really good at forcing me. If we go out, we'll be like, let's have a cocktail, and we'll try like, I want to have an old fashioned or a rusty nail, just some old school
Yeah.
cocktail. And I'm like, oh, why doesn't this come back?
Yeah. That's fun. Beloved Delta and legendary guest. I find myself in a quandary, and like Dorothy sought out in The Wizard of Oz, I come to you for help. My question is in regards to both performance spaces and rude patrons. I recently found myself attending a performance of Wicked the Musical on Broadway, as most gay people eventually do. I was seated, the lights were dimming, the pre-show announcement had finished. I was overjoyed when suddenly the belligerently drunk family in front of me loudly exclaimed, "We have to pee." just as the overture began. I missed several exciting special effects, but I thought that at least the ordeal was over. I was wrong. They misbehaved the entire show. In fact, one of the women pulled out her phone and had a conversation at full volume during one of the saddest scenes. I fear that phone etiquette has gone completely out the window, and every day I agree more with Patti LuPone saying that we are losing our sense of decorum. I love Broadway, but my experiences are frequently ruined by belligerent drunk people who consider buying tickets these days. I have better luck with off-Broadway and off-Broadway shows and tend to stick with those. As I silently wept behind my sunglasses in the middle of the night of the train ride home, I wondered, what would Delta do? My question for you is, what would be the best way to grab someone's phone, smash it in a way that would render it completely unusable while making it appear to be a total accident? Yours, Barry T. I've never seen a Broadway show, ever, ever, ever. I've seen plays, obviously, but I've never had the time or ability to do that. But I do feel like at drag shows I perform at, there's plenty of people, which I would never compare the same thing, but I do feel like it is a piece of theater in a way. It's at least happening live. There's people that just feel like, whatever, I don't care. I paid for a ticket. Fuck you.
Totally.
What
Well,
is that?
decorum and etiquette has almost completely vanished across the board. For sure, people they just don't know. And I mean, I'm not excusing that behavior because it's so annoying and I hate it. I went to a lot of Broadway shows, but they just don't know. They think they're in their living room watching TV.
Right.
And it's like, they don't know. They just don't have that decorum. Honey, I feel the same way about flying on an airplane. I mean, I don't want to be a snob, but I see people get on a plane and I'm like, girl, are you going to like the pool? Or are you getting on a plane?
Right. Right.
Like, there's not saying you have to be in a business suit or whatever,
Sure.
but it's like, it just doesn't, there's no decorum or etiquette anymore. And that's just rude. I mean, you kind of think like, why wouldn't they know? Wouldn't you know if you're going to see a live show to shut the fuck up?
It's crazy to me that people really do not know. Like, how would you not know that? How would you not know, like, oh, I'm the only person in here screaming. I'm the only person on the phone. Maybe I should be doing what everybody else is doing, which is like,
They don't think that way. It's like,
weird.
drives me crazy just driving here in Los Angeles at how many people don't use their signal. That it infuriates. I'm screaming at people. My
Yeah.
roommate's always like, girl, watch the rage. Because it's so inconsiderate. It takes nothing to do, but they don't care. I'm in my own little world. I'm the only person on the road.
Yeah.
I'm the only person at the theater. I'm the only person getting on this flight. I'm the only thing that matters. They don't have any filter.
At all.
They don't even think about it.
I always think about when you talk about driving. When I come here, I go through that area where, it's like kind of over where the Walt Disney Studios are. I'll drive through there, and then I'll drive alongside the freeway through that Griffith Park where the
zoo is
and all
everything.
that.
It's
Yeah,
gorgeous.
the
I love-
Autry.
Love that drive.
And then I'll come out basically on the other side of where Rudolpho's used to be,
Mhm.
right? That whole stretch is 25 miles
25
an hour.
girl.
Every
know.
time there are people blowing. I've
I
had
know.
people screaming at me, get the fuck out of the way. And I'm thinking, you're passing park rangers. You're passing people that are going through with golf carts. Little old
And
people.
jogging. I mean, look,
Jogging.
it's so funny you say that because that's my favorite route to take when would go to Casita or where we were doing
Yeah.
Golden Girls. And I was like, this is where I'm just going to breathe.
Oh, I love it.
And it's beautiful. And I really do go under 30
Mm-hmm.
and people will lose their shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why take this route if you're in such a hurry? Get on the fucking 5 over there.
Right.
And, do
We're
it
literally running parallel
to the
whole
5.
way.
So, yeah. So I agree 100%. It's funny you bring that up because it would drive me crazy. And then I get very indignant where I'm like, I'm going to go 25. If you go
I'm setting
right.
cruise control.
Yeah, just to piss them off. And these people driving, why can't I? The car, Elon Musk.
Oh, the Teslas.
Sorry, Teslas. Cunts. Oh my God. They think they literally own the road and there's nobody. The Tesla people, it's like they refuse to use the signal.
Yeah.
And I'm mad.
And I'm damn mad.
I'm damn mad. As Coco would say, that bothers me.
To all of your friends, all of the people that, all of the legends that we know, Jackie, Coco, you, Candace, everybody, do you all like know each other well enough that you'll do each other's voice like that, like you just
Oh
did?
my God,
I
totally.
love that.
Well, Coco and I have known each other since the early 90s. And then we just kind of lost contact. Like we'd see each other, we'd be like, oh my God, I'm so happy to see you. But we didn't like communicate.
Right.
During the pandemic, I was like, we need to talk. I called her. We talked for like an hour. And then we talked for an hour every single day.
Wow.
And I was like, I am so happy. And she's like, this is so great. So we came up with this idea of this show, Jurassic Drag. It's me, Jackie Beat, Coco Peru, Varla Jean Merman,
Wow.
Jurassic Drag. And yeah, I'm so excited because we know each other so well.
Right. Right. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you for being here.
Oh my God. Thank you for having me.
This
I
is
was
so
very
fun.
excited.
I love it. I love being able to talk to, well, not just somebody that I look up to and somebody that I know is legendary, but somebody that's just from a time that I remember and is still thriving like crazy. I mean, it really is a great example for people that if you just do what it is that you do, you know what you do better than anyone. You can have this. You don't have to always be doing this. Not that, again, you said it and I said it too. It's not knocking what anyone else does.
Of course not.
By any means.
Of course
because they're
not.
providing an entertainment as well. But to be able to say, I can also entertain in a way that no one else is doing it. And with people that are not, because, you look at people and you go, oh, I wonder if those people know each other. These people all know each other. All
Yeah.
of you legends know each other. And it's so fierce to me. And it's like, you hope, again, we're not that far off in age, but far enough that that you're from a group and then there's another group and then there's another group. And you just hope that everybody would be able to just keep climbing and keep,
Yeah.
I
I mean, look, if I go to Varla's show, Varla, who I sincerely love, but then I can sit there objectively and watch her show and be like, this is why she's still doing it 35 years
Sure.
later. She's fucking amazing.
Right.
And so, whatever. But I
Yeah.
hope that it was fun because I know there's pressure to always be funny, and we were being serious.
Pressure to be funny.
Except for the glory hole section.
You. Thank you all so much for listening and to watching Very Delta. Our show comes out every Monday. Subscribe to Mom Podcast YouTube channel and turn on your notifications so you do not miss an episode. Search for Very Delta on your favorite podcast apps to listen to the audio-only version if you can't handle all of the beautiful visual element. You can also sign up for premium offerings on Mom Plus Gold by visiting mompodcast.plus, where you get weekly episodes of more Very Delta. Don't forget to send all of your questions to readmedelta@gmail.com. You can follow me on Instagram at Delta Work. Where can people find you?
Miss Sherry Vine.
Miss Sherry Vine on Tinder. Miss Sherry Vine at Instagram at Trader Joe's.
Third floor Macy's.
Have you ever been to the Trader Joe's up the street from here?
No.
Oh, it's so small. I've never been to such a small Trader Joe's.
Oh, is that
They don't
fun?
even have a bathroom.
What?
No. They don't even have a football team. We'll see you next week. And until then, keep things very Delta. Very Delta is produced by Moguls of Media, aka Mom. Hosted by Delta Work. Produced and edited by Doug Robertson. Technical direction by Margot Padilla. With original theme music by Will Pitts. Media and design support by Stone Cold. And set design by Eris Sevilla. Executive produced by Alaska, Willem, Big Dipper, Camille Stennis, and Joe Cilio. Recorded at Forever Dog Productions. I want to go to McDonald's, bitch. Ooh, fucking hungry. I want a double cheeseburger and I want $1.50 medium fries off the fucking app.
Mom!
To listen to Very Delta ad-free, one day early, and to get access to more Very Delta and all of Mom Podcast's premium content, check out Mom Plus Gold at mompodcast.plus.